How would you like to make your first million? Today we have Abi Asija with us, and he's an entrepreneur and the author of the land businesses. Over the past 8 years, he has built seven-figure land company through 700 plus DRIAs across the United States. So tell us, Abi, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Harry, thank you so much for having me. I've seen like you've done so many episodes. I really respect your work ethic and the amount of consistency that you put into the show, and in general, just being on YouTube for so long. I really appreciate it. But to get to your question, it is a very interesting question. I thought about it a lot, and I was like, I want to answer it, but I don't want to answer it in a way where it seems too easy. Like, so it's like asking, how do you climb the Mount Everest in 5 steps? Well, so here's how you do it. Here's how you do it, Harry. You fly to Nepal, right? You put in your climbing gear. You go up. Step 3, you go down. Step 4, step 5, you enjoy and tell your friends. Right? So obviously there's like so much nitty gritty that goes behind. So I thought about it. The best way to answer this question is, instead of giving you 5 steps, I'll give you 5 principles that can get you to a million. First
Excellent.
million.
Wow, that would be
How's that?
brilliant.
Yes?
Go for
All
it.
right. So I wrote this book, and the land business, and I this business is all about principles. So I have like 30 plus principles, but the 5 biggest principles, right? And that will get you to your first million and beyond, is number 1. The first principle is the amount of money you make in the business is equal to the amount of goodwill you have in the marketplace multiplied by the number of offers you make to your customers. So what does this mean? So the number of offers. So say, I'll give you an example. So say, Harry, you have a coffee shop and I have a coffee shop. So Harry's coffee shop, Abi's coffee shop, right, in the same town. And when a customer comes to Harry's coffee shop, they ask for coffee. Harry doesn't just sell them coffee. They'll be like, oh, you want a small, we have a special going on. Would you like to upgrade to a medium? Would you like a croissant with it? Would you like a pastry with it? Would you like a water bottle for your way back? Would you like to buy coffee beans for your, when you go back home, so you can make coffee at your home, right? So you make 6, 7, 8 offers to every customer as part of the conversation. They come to Abi's cafe and I just say, oh yeah, you want coffee? Here you go. And done. So I'm making only 1 offer, whereas Harry is making 7 offers, right? So you can imagine at the end of the year, when we look at the revenue, the amount of money Harry made from Harry's coffee shop versus the amount of money Abi made from Abi's coffee shop will be a huge discrepancy, because you're selling potentially 7x what I'm selling, right? Because you have so many offers. So your average cart value, so say we sell coffee for $5, I charge 5, but then you sell pastries, you sell cookies, you sell, croissants and meals and egg bites and coffee beans and those refillable cups that they can take home. Our revenue numbers will be like very different, and you'll be making like 5x, 7x more than me, right? So that's the number of offers. And then you also need some kind of goodwill. People need to be able to trust you, right? For you to make those offers, right? Because if there's no trust, you're going to make additional offers. People will like, no, thank you. I'm good. I just need the coffee, right? But they're like, oh, we know Harry. We love him. He's been in the business for so long, right? Then they're going to take the offer. More offers you make, the more they'll take it, because you have so much goodwill. So that's the first principle. If you want to make million and beyond in your business, you have to have a massive amount of goodwill in the marketplace, meaning people trust you, they like you, you produce a lot of value, just like Harry is doing, producing all these valuable content for the world to see. And Harry makes a lot of offers, right? So now this is not a novel concept. This is like, big companies do this all the time. You go to car rentals, right? You rent a car in the US, they'll be like, oh, would you like to upgrade to a bigger car? Would you like extra insurance? Would you like a ski rack? Would you like GPS? Would you like prepay for gas? Right? So all those offers, the reason they make them because it ridiculously increases their revenue at the end of the year. So that's the first principle, right? Or the first step to answer your question. How do you think about getting to a large revenue number? The second one is you want to make an offer that feels fast, easy, and risk-free. So here's an example, right? So I have this local gym, right? Just open, right? And then they're like, well, so you can join the gym at $9 per month, right? Even though it costs them a lot more money. So like $9 per month. And if you don't like it in the first month, you will refund you that $9, right? So they made it fast. They're like, you can come in anytime. You don't even need to sign up for anything for the free trial. Then it's $9 per month and it's refundable, right? So they made it fast, they made it easy, and they made it risk-free. So if those are the types of offer you're making to your customers, you will get more customers. And if you have more customers, you make them more upsell offers, right? And then you increase the revenue. So that's the second step or second principle you can use to generate more revenue, right? Now, the principle number 3 is you have 4 different types of offers and you should be making all of them. So what are those 4 offers? So the first offer is attraction offer. Attraction offer is like a banger offer or like a very attractive offer that people would take it, which otherwise wouldn't. So for example, the gym saying, oh, we have a free 7-day trial. Who's not going to take free trial, right? It's free. Come in, enjoy the workout for free, right? So that's attraction offer. And then you have upsell offer. We already discussed upsell offer. Harry's Coffee Shop, you upsell them on pastries, you upsell them on coffee beans, water bottles, foam on top of their coffees, unlimited upsells you can make. And then you have a downsell offer. If someone says, oh, I have this 5-pound coffee bean bag just shipped right from Costa Rica. It's like, it's fresh. Would you like to buy it? And the person is like, how much? You're like, well, it's $49. Like, it's too expensive. I don't want to spend that much. And then you can downsell them. Harry will be like, oh, that's okay. Just get a 1-pound bag then. It's only like $19, right? So you made them a downsell offer. And the final offer is continuity offer, right? So you can be like, oh, you want to be part of the membership club, our Harry's Coffee membership, and you get 15% off all the purchases. Plus you get our special coupons and special discounts, and you get invited to our special after our events, right? So that would be the third principle, that you should be making all 4 offers: attraction offer, upsell offer, downsell offer, and continuity offer. So I gave you 3 principles, and the fourth principle or the fourth step would be every time you talk to a customer, it's an opportunity to, build a relationship and make some kind of an offer, right? So we discussed making lots of offers. So this principle talks about every time you're talking to a customer, it's an opportunity to provide value. And after you provide value, you can make some kind of an offer. So that's 4. And number 5, there are only 2 ways to grow a business. First, you can grow a business by acquiring more customers. So if we go back to our cafe shop example, you can get more customers by having advertising in the local newspaper or social media, Facebook, Google, or like local shops, right? So you can advertise more and more people will know about Harry's Coffee Shop. More people will come in, more upsell offers you'll make, right? And then you'll make more revenue. So that's one way to grow a business. And the second way to grow a business is by making existing customers more valuable. So you have this, like, say, 500 customers that regularly come to Harry's Coffee Shop. How do we make them more valuable? We already discussed one of the ways would be having them be part of a membership, right? Harry's Coffee Shop, or a monthly club, right? Some kind of a membership that they become part of. So they spend more money, they get continuous monthly revenue, MRR, monthly recurring revenue. You can use that money to enhance the experience of the customer. So they are happy, they spend more, you're happy, you're making more money, right? So those would be my 5 principles that will help you get to your first million. So just to recap, money equal to goodwill times number of offers. Make your offers fast, easy, and risk-free. Upsell, downsell, and continuity offers. Make use of every customer interaction. Use that as an opportunity to provide value and make offers. And the fifth one was all growth comes from either doing more volume, doing more advertising, more marketing, or making your existing customers more valuable by having a relationship with them and by giving them more value and making more offers. How's that, Harry?
Brilliant. 10 out of 10. So, but making money in property is easy. Out of the 500 millionaires that we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are property investors or property millionaires. And our audience might think that become a millionaire in real estate is easy. Can you share with us the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a property investor and property entrepreneur? Why so many millionaires? More than 1 out of 5 are property, and the other 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs in this podcast. Already 500 millionaires interviews. So why we have so many wealthy people in property? So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Wait, Harry, I lost you.
Okay, again, the good, the bad, and the ugly
Okay.
being property investors or being property millionaire. What is the good thing, the regular thing, and the bad thing of being a property
Oh,
investor?
I see. Okay, I understand the question. So what is the good, bad, and ugly in the land business? I can only talk about land because that's my expertise. So I'll start with the good. The good thing about getting into land investing and making money through land is it's a ton of parcels available. There are like 3,000 plus counties in the US. US is huge. Most of the US is vacant, right? Vacant land. So it's a good opportunity in buying recreational parcels that a lot of people, there's like, you would be surprised the amount of demand there is for land, because when we first got into land, we were like, who's going to buy this land middle of nowhere, right? It's like in Nevada, it's like there's no utilities, but people love it. People love buying land. It's just, I still don't understand why there's is this huge demand for it. I understand. In my head, I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure some people like it, but just the overwhelming amount of people love it. They usually buy it to put their RVs, to put mobile homes on it, or like an off-grid setup, or homesteading, or just for like riding their ATVs, or just for investment purposes, or like speculation purposes. They think it's gonna grow in value. It's just like, and sometimes people just treat it like gold. They just want to buy it because they want to buy it. And other people buy it for legacy purposes. They want to leave something tangible for their kids. So there is a huge demand. So that's the good, right? So if you learn how to perform proper due diligence, you learn how to find good deals, you can make a decent amount of money in land. So that's the good. The bad is, it is a business, right? A lot of people treat it as like a side business, and they don't do very well because they're treating like, oh, I'm just gonna do 1 or 2 deals per year, I'm gonna make $1 million. That's not the reality. You have to you have to do some kind of volume, even if you are doing like mid-sized deals, like if maybe you're buying for 30-40K, because you don't do enough volume, you're not going to get enough experience. You're not going to learn things volume teaches. Like for example, like just getting exposure to different type of deals, different type of clients, different types of like if you're sending letters, different type of buyer profiles, right? You're missing out on those experience if you don't do a good amount of volume. So volume is important. If you're just looking for like side hustle, you won't replace your salary. You can make some extra cash, but even then you have to put in work. It's not easy. You have to running a business, and you have to treat it like a business, right? So it's not like, oh, I just participate in tax auction and win some property and put it on the MLS, I'm going to be a millionaire. Because you have to spend time performing due diligence. You have to make sure you do comps, you don't overpay. You have to learn how to do the land valuation properly. It's not easy. Nothing is automated in terms of valuation. And there are softwares that claim to be automated, but if you don't like, learn, like manually evaluate them, you can make mistakes, and you don't want to make mistakes. So the goal is to do proper due diligence, buy good land at good valuation so you can make money on the sell side. So the bad would be that it requires work. It's not like an easy, like a Bitcoin thing. You just buy and wait, and it's going to go up in value. So the ugly is you will be some duds. You will lose some money in some deals, and that's the reason why volume is so important. Because if you're doing like 100 deals and 5 of them don't make money, you still made a massive amount of money because 95 worked. But if you only do 5 and all 5 lost money, right? So you'll be like, oh, land doesn't work. Well, but you only did 5, right? You got to do more. That would be the good, bad, and ugly.
Oh, your book.
Hey. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. We want to know about your book. Tell us a bit more about your book. What inspired you to write your book?
Oh, what inspired me to write my book? So I launched this book. I started writing it when we're getting close to 700 mark. And my wife had a book that she wrote, when we were like close to 500 mark, I think. And I was like, okay, so I think, the lessons that we learned were much different than what we learned at like the 400, 500 mark. And I wanted to, and it was, my wife's book was more of from a due diligence perspective. And I wanted to write a principles book that would be like timeless, that we can, our kids are growing, getting older. So I wanted to document principles that my kids can use, and, like later generations can use. And the idea was to not write a how-to book, but write a timeless principles book, because if you write a how-to book, it's going to get outdated very quickly, because the technology changes, software changes, the real estate market. So we don't know, right? And the book can become outdated very quickly. So that's the reason why I wanted to write a principles books that will never go outdated in theory. So that was the inspiration for later generations to learn from the mistakes and from the lessons that took us too long to learn. Because if we knew what we knew now, we would have reached 7 figures in the first year. But because it took us like 7, 8 years to learn those principles, I just wanted to consolidate them in one book. So it's something that we can go back and refer to as well.
That you wrote in your book that people can apply when they want to buy land.
Wait, Harry, I'm losing you again.
Okay.
Say it again.
What are your 3 favorite principles when it comes to buying land?
Oh, 3 favorite principles when it comes to buying land. I would say we discussed the 5 principles. Those were more business, from the business perspective. I would give you the 3 best ones from a sales perspective, because sales is, it is tricky. Because when we started the business, we didn't really put a lot of attention on the sales side, because we were like, well, the most of the focus should be on the acquisition side, because if we buy the property at the right price, we can sell it. Totally flawed. It's 100% flawed way of thinking, because you could literally buy the property on the MLS at full price, and if you know how to sell, you can still make money by doing a good job in marketing and sales. So I would say my 3 favorite principles. So the first one is proof beats promise, which means that you can promise something. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a good job. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. But if you have proof, if you can show them that people in their situation in the past, we have helped them, right, in terms of testimonials, like written testimonials, video testimonials, live testimonials, just like having the customer come on your live stream. So if you can demonstrate using proof, that's much more powerful than just making promises that we're going to do a good job. So that's one of the principles I would like to highlight. The second one is the decision is the product on a sales call. So when you're on a sales call with a customer, Your goal is not persuasion. You're not trying to persuade them to buy your thing. Your job is to make sure they come to a decision. So what does that mean? So if 100 people come to your show up on your sales calls, out of 100, usually 10 people will always buy, no matter what you say, because they just love the product. 10 people will never buy because they're not in the market, they're just like goofing around. But the rest 80 people are undecided. They don't know whether they should buy or not buy. And your job as a salesperson is not to convince them to buy, but for your job is to convince them to make a yes or no decision. Because when you frame every sales conversation like that, then it takes the pressure off. You're not, because you're in the guide frame. You're just guiding them, you're helping them. That's all you care about. You don't care about sale anymore. You care about them making a decision. Doesn't matter whether they make a yes decision or no decision, or maybe it's a maybe decision that they're gonna make in 30 days. Doesn't matter. They need to come to a decision. You cannot end the call by them saying, oh yeah, I'll think about it, right? Because then you didn't do a good job as a salesperson. You need to guide them, help them make a decision, whether it's yes or no, doesn't matter. So that's the second principle. So the first principle I highlighted was proof beats promise. The second principle I highlighted was the decision is the product on the sales call. And the third principle I would like to highlight is emotion starts the sale, logic sustains it. So what does that mean? A lot of people are like first time buyers. They're like very emotional. They're like, oh, I can't believe I can buy land for $500 down, 500 per month for like 3 years, right? They'd get very emotional. We had like this one guy who booked like a Zoom call with us, and he was like, oh, I just found your website. I didn't even know it was possible to buy land for 500 down, 500 per month. I would buy like 5 of them. I was like, really? You want to buy 5? Say, okay. If that's your decision, right? He was like so excited. He was like crying. He's like, I can't believe this. I always wanted to buy land. I just didn't know you can buy it in such an affordable fashion, right? So we had this call. I was like, all right, just send me the paperwork and I will get the process started. So, okay. So we sent him the paperwork and we never heard from him, right? And then 2 weeks later, we get an email. They're saying, oh, I'm really sorry. I got emotional, but I can't really afford 5 properties, right? And he got like embarrassed, right? But if we had done a good job and if we were logical on the call, because we were like, oh, okay, he wants to buy 5. Why would we stop the sale? Let him buy 5, right? But now we know better. This is like the earlier days. Now we know better. Like we know people get emotional, and emotions start the sale. But unless it makes logical sense for them, you have to frame the conversation logically. You have to like get to their budget. Can you actually afford the $500 payments every month? What kind of budget? What budget do you look like? How much discretionary income you have, right? So that education process, the logical education process, if it's missing, then you're gonna have a lot of people who are not following through on the buy decision. They'll flake you, or they'll ask for a refund, or they'll like buy it and then complain and then be like, oh yeah, but I don't want this, I don't want that, right? They'll like, we don't want them to have buyer's remorse. We want the sale to be sustained and for them to be happy. So that would be my third principle. Emotion starts the sale and logic sustains it.
What are in love with this conversation? How they can find you? How this process work?
I mean, in this podcast, I'm really just promoting the land business that I just released. So you can check that out at Amazon or Goodreads or wherever. Search for the land business. If you want to reach me, I'm available on LinkedIn. I also have a website, honestwealthbuilders.com, where I teach other people. It's a 12-month mentorship where I teach people how to start a land business. I target people just like me who have a 9-to-5 job and they want to learn this business and want to do this full time. So that's my target audience. Because I don't want, and that's the reason why I keep it at 12 months, because I don't want people to fail. I want them to be successful. I want to have goodwill in the marketplace. And that's the reason why I set it up as a 12-month. Yeah. So check me out at honestwealthbuilders.com if you're interested in that. But if you just want to learn about the business and the principles we discussed, check out the book, The Land Business, available on Amazon.
It's land where you see from the 500 millionaire we interview, the 100 investors, we have people use different techniques. They do flipping, they do self-storage, they do commercial, they do residential, they do so many different strategies. Yeah. So why do you choose land?
That's an interesting question, Harry. So I had a 9 to 5, and my wife and I were interested in real estate and wanted to get into real estate, but we were really not comfortable with taking on debt because, like, we, Dave Ramsey fans, and we don't want to take any debt, and we were like, stay debt free for life. So that was our mindset. And any of the strategies that we were looking at in real estate all required taking on some kind of debt. Like if you're doing house flipping, you're not going to have like $400,000 sitting there. You have to take a loan, you put a down payment, so on and so forth. And then when we came across land, so these are like recreational parcels, not very expensive, buying for like $5,000, $4,000, $6,000, selling for like 12,000, 14,000, right? 2x, 3xing the profit. And when stumbled upon it, I was like, so we're only buying it for like 4 or 5K, and I don't need to take out debt because I had like 50, 60, $65,000 saved. I was like, I can just use that as my initial capital and, try it out before, I can scale it. So that's the reason why I chose this niche with like buying rural vacant land parcels, because it was just very affordable and like a relatively low risk way of getting into the real estate business without taking on debt.
What is the last message? Last message that you have for our audience, for the people that want to do real estate business?
Yeah, what's the message? I would say, if you are getting into real estate and you want to, and your goal is to do it full time, like replace your salary, I would say the biggest message is to treat it like a real business from day one. Do not treat it like a side hustle. Because if you treat it like a side hustle, then you're going to get side hustle results. But if you treat it like a real business, you're going to get real business results. And real business scales and like exponentially. So, that would be my core message. And also the fact that, make sure when you're starting a business, you focus on the two main components, which is building goodwill in the marketplace, provide a ton of value upfront without expecting anything in return, and make a lot of offers. So the more offers you make, the more opportunities you get to increase your revenue. So that would be my core message.
And the last one, the transition between corporate and entrepreneur. We have a lot of people in the podcast, corporate jobs, and they want to start the business. They want to start to become an entrepreneur, but they don't find the courage. And then dynamic is different because a job is 9 to 5. You don't need to worry about anything to that. Whereas entrepreneurs, before getting product market fit, is like Monday to Sunday, always working on me. So sometimes people want, but one thing is what they think, what they want. Oh, it's fine. You take as much holiday, you fill your own calendar. So tell us about that transition between corporate to entrepreneur. Again, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, the transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship. I think the biggest difference I felt was the stress doesn't get away. Like the stress doesn't go away. So you still have the stress, but it's a very different kind of stress. So the stress in the corporate world is like, oh, I'm meeting this deadline. And this deadline is completely artificial. It's just created by another human to work on a random project. And they created this random deadline, right? So a lot of the stress comes is like artificial, by artificial deadlines, and you're just like a cog, like the whole machine, right? You don't really understand how you work directly impacting, especially since I worked in technology. It was very hard to see how my work is directly impacting revenue. But when you switch to being an entrepreneur, every task I do, it has to be a revenue generating activity, or building goodwill, which will eventually generate revenue. Because if you're not thinking in terms like that, like you're building, like right now we're doing a podcast, I'm hopefully providing value and building goodwill. Because if it's not, right, it's just not aligned with my business goals, right? So everything you do you have to think like that. And then when you start thinking like that, the stress, you still have stress because you need to meet the goals. You have financial goals, you need money, you have like reputational goals, you have like goals of like how many, people will read this book, right? So you have all these goals and all these deadlines, but they are created by you, not by someone else. And that is a very big difference, because now the stress is not generated by someone else, it's self-generated. And the self-generated stress, it's much easier to deal with because you are at stake, right? Your whole reputation, your goodwill, your financial future is at stake. And that stress is like directly aligned, with your work. When that alignment happens, it much more, I personally find it much more manageable, because there are variables under control of me, as opposed to a random deadline on a random project that a random person created because the random manager asked them to have some sort of deadline because there was a business partner who had some sort of whatever, right? So it's not even in your control. So the reason that stress feels more stressful, at least for me on the corporate side, is because there's so many unknowns and there's so many variables that are not under my control. So that was the biggest difference I felt when I switched to entrepreneur. That the stress was much higher quality and better, and it helped me work harder and longer, because I could directly see how the impact will affect the bottom line, right? So that was the good, bad. I don't know which category it will fit in, but that's how I felt. The ugly part is, no one told me how hard business would be and how much effort it will be. There are like certain things I used to prioritize, taking vacations and doing, like fun things. And I realized that those things are not, they are like not important. If you have your goals and you're working towards the goals, and you put in more effort, you put in more work, it's the amount of fulfillment you get back is much greater than any kind of vacation or time off or watching TV or watching news will get you. So that was another big realization I had. And there's a reason all the very successful entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Tim Cook, all of these, very successful entrepreneurs work so much because the amount of fulfillment they get in return, you cannot match that in a 9 to 5 job and taking vacations. It's just like the vacation feels good for like few days and then you go back to your stressful life again. And it's the fulfillment doesn't last. But the fulfillment you get from doing the hard work and just like having the pride in the work ethic and the amount of work that was put in, and then you see the results, the biggest difference I saw from corporate to entrepreneur transition.
So much, Abi, for
Yeah.
the interview. And for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable. How great entrepreneurs like Abi break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.